Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tuesdays with Terica. Hey, we made it back one more week. Hey, this week I am having a discussion with Mesha Cook, who is a phenomenal woman. She is a retired vet. She served our country. She is serving as a minister in her home church. She's assistant pastor. She has so many accolades. I can't even begin to tell you, but you are really, really, really going to enjoy this. She's one that you will never forget. Hey, and this week's episode is sponsored by Terica Talbert and Century 21 Blackwell and Company. I hope you enjoy. Well, hey, Tamisha, how are you, honey?
Oh, well, how are you, Terica?
I am well. I am so thankful that you have agreed to sit and talk with me. I know your story because I'm upfront and personal, but
Right.
I know that there's some things that we haven't had a chance to share. And I thought it would be just so awesome to hear you give your testimony and have it documented because you're such an inspiration to so many people. And I don't know that you know that. So today is going to um, give God glory, but also allow people to see you shine.
Okay.
How you feel about that?
To God be the glory. However you want to see this, I'm on board with it.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So let's kind of get right into it. So, and just again, witnessing your life. How old were you when you actually joined the military? Because some of the transformation of things that happened to you was while you were in the military, correct?
Correct. I was approximately, I think I was like 17, 18 years old.
You
I
was
had a
a baby.
I had a birthday doing boot camp, so I can't quite remember exactly how old I was, but I was pretty fresh out of high school.
And what kind of drove you to go to the military? Did you always have a desire? Or
I
because you know our family, you know.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I actually joined the military as a way to get back at my mom, for lack of better words. So I gave her the paperwork for her to sign for me to go into the military because I was too young. So I was like 17. Um, I gave it to her for like Christmas. And I was like, I'm going to
That
the
was her
military.
Christmas present.
It
Okay.
was.
Only you. Only you. What was her reaction? Because you know she wasn't a lot different from you, so I can only imagine what her response was.
Right. She was taken aback at first and she was like, well, what is this paperwork for? And I was like, you told me that, you gave me an ultimatum, go to college, go to the military, or go into the mill and work with you. And I thought that going to the military was less of the three evils. So that's what I done.
So for our viewers, because you've done so well in the military, what did you retire as far as your rank?
I retired as an E7.
An E7.
Mhm.
Okay. And can you explain to us civilians who don't really know what that may mean? What was your duties, your responsibilities?
My duties and my responsibilities, I started out as something called a yeoman, which is an administrator. And
Mhm.
then I ended up going to the military jailhouse. While there, I became a member of the United States motorcade, where I was uh, escorting the president around town or what have you.
Now, for those of you who are watching, we can't tell you who the president was that she was escorting around town. Just know your girl is legit, okay?
And it's
Okay.
not, actually it's not classified because it
It's
is
not classified now. Okay.
that portion
Okay.
is not classified.
Okay.
But it was a very prestigious position that I had the honor of being awarded, if you will.
Well, that is awesome. So, in doing doing everything that you were doing to actually come to this place, you were really kind of faced with some hardships while you were actually in the military. But before we get into that, I do have a question for you because I've talked with several other military people, and they say it's really hard for women. Did you face any of that?
I did. I did. There's a lot of obstacles that we face as women, as Black women, being in the military, and uh, what I've learned from other mentors who have gone before me is to learn how to adapt and overcome your situations.
Hmm.
So once you learn how to play the game, for lack of better words, it becomes a little bit easier to bear.
Hmm. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, switching hats a bit because
Mm-hmm.
you never meet a stranger. You talk to everyone, but during your time in the military in your early years, you became friends with um, your BFF.
Mm-hmm.
And can you share a little bit about that?
um.
Now, just remember, I don't want to take you to a place that is not comfortable, but
Okay.
anything that you are willing to share,
Mm-hmm.
I just want the viewers to see the triumph that
Right.
you have, um, the will to continue to move forward and not stay in a certain place.
Right.
Because, girl, if any of us
Mm.
had to go through the things that you've had to go through, I don't know where we would be. I don't know. But
Yeah.
this is really God's testimony through you,
Amen.
of your faithfulness to Him and His faithfulness to you. So, however
Mhm.
you want to share.
Okay, so I met my best friend at my first duty station, and we encountered a lot of great things. She taught me how to drive a straight drive or stick shift or what have you. We spent a lot of time together. She ended up being one of my roommates in the barracks at the time, and we endured life. We grew together, being away from home for the first time and trying to be adults or what have you. We really had a very strong bond that I haven't been able to share with many people since. But um, yeah, my best friend was phenomenal. She was very phenomenal. If I had to re-meet her again, um, if I could do life all over again, I'll definitely make sure that I'll cross paths with her because she taught me a lot. We learned a lot and we shared a lot. Yeah.
So, the day that life changed
Mm-hmm.
regarding your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
how how was that? How was that for you? Like, you got a call, or did you witness anything, or what was the circumstances around that?
Um, on the day of her passing, I received a phone call from her, and I didn't get to the phone, but she ended up leaving me a message. And when she left the message, she stated that she's in a position in her life where she can make a decision and not have to worry about the repercussions of her decision. And yeah, she made her decision, and I think that she did what was best for her at the time. It was very bittersweet for me. It was bitter as a whole. But I the sweetness to it is that she thought enough of me to call me and tell me goodbye. Um, and that, you know, I don't have to worry about her because she's okay. She's okay.
So, for those of you who are watching, again, one of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because we all go through something, but you never know what somebody else is dealing with. But this
Mhm.
young lady right here, yeah, she's had some great losses, and just knowing that she's been able to pick herself up by the bootstraps, I guess is what they say, the old school say, and
Mhm.
continue to move forward, it's awesome and amazing. So you had this one, was this maybe one of your first heartfelt losses? Because we all go through loss.
Yes.
some hit a little different, not
Mhm.
that you love anybody less than, but some things just hit a little different. So how was that as far as emotional for you?
Um, this was um, this was my very first uh, tragic loss. I didn't really understand death. I went through a lot during this time, and um, my best friend died on a Sunday. That Sunday, and my little cousin passed away the following day. So I had two deaths back to back at that time, and it was just really devastating to me. I had major decisions to make. Do I go to my best friend's funeral, or do I go to my first cousin's funeral, which was my uncle's daughter um, who also committed suicide? Um, so it was a lot of things that were going on in my life. I was really young. I was under 21 because again, this is my first duty station. So I had a lot of mixed emotions, and I definitely went through all stages of grief. And I think I stayed with the anger most,
Mhm.
um,
Who
because
were
I
you
didn't.
angry at?
I was angry at God because He didn't. I felt that God didn't give me. He didn't consider me having to make these major decisions because the funerals were like this literally like the same day or like an hour before. They were like an hour apart. And I was like, well, God, why would you take both of my, people who mean so much to me? And I have to choose which one. It felt like I had to choose which one I love the most, if
Hmm.
you know what I mean. So that gave me that left a bitterness in my mouth
Hmm.
in reference to God because I didn't quite understand why.
Hmm. So you go through such a hardship with your heart kind of in a million pieces. I can only imagine.
Yes.
Um, and in doing that, you still have to function. You still have to work. You still have to kind of pick up the pieces and move on with life. How
Hmm.
are you able to do that, especially in having such a career that demanded so much, required so much? You're just getting started, so now you're having to shift gears because you're now needing to start putting some things in place for your
Mhm.
future. How do you do that?
Um, Even though I was mad at God, He still was my saving grace. And a
All
lot of
of
times,
ours.
yeah, we get mad at God, but then He's the one who ends up helping us put those pieces back together again. And I end up finding people. He had rams in the bush, for lack of better words, of people who would come in and talk to me. I had counselors to come in. My chain of command was very understanding of me going through this because it was a double loss for me. Um, and they just gave me time to heal as much time as they could possibly give me
Mhm.
to heal. So I took advantage of that with the counseling and stuff like that.
And that's another thing that, we've talked about on this YouTube channel is, you know, counseling, speaking with someone is not taboo. It's good and it's necessary. And sometimes you got to know what you need and act on it because everybody is not built the same and some people need to be able to process things different. I am all for anybody doing whatever they need to do to make it work for themselves. So we're going to shift a bit and we're going to talk about how triumphant you are. Two-time survivor. You've done some stuff, girl, I'm telling you.
To
um,
glory.
To God be the glory. So, in in the process of your healing, is that when you received the call from your doctor, or because at this point you had already had one child? Am I correct?
No, no, no.
When your first diagnosis?
No, I hadn't had any children yet.
Okay, okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had no children. This was back in 2004.
Okay.
2004 was my first diagnosis.
And you just went to the doctor randomly, or were you sick, or?
My husband and I, it's a crazy story. My husband and I were wrestling, and he, while we were wrestling and playing around, just playing around or what have you, he noticed that there was a hard spot on my chest, and he was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like, it was no big deal to me because it wasn't pain or anything. So I went to the doctor. That following Monday, I just went to sick call, and they tried to aspirate it with a needle, and two needles end up bending. Uh, and they said we need to rush you into surgery. They went into surgery, and that's when they told me that I had uh, breast cancer stage 3. After the test results went off or what have you, I found out that I had breast cancer. We were in like the third stage.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
As a woman, well, probably as anyone, but as a woman, I can't even imagine what does that mean, especially with you saying how young you were and you hadn't had children, and it's
Mhm.
in your breast. How do you feel? Like what was your first thought? Do you even remember? Or is it really just a blank at this point?
I remember it like it was yesterday, actually, Terica. I was sitting on the little small beds they have in the rooms, and the doctor walks in, and another two doctors actually walk in, and he told me that I had cancer. He said, "Well, we got your results back, and you have cancer." And to be honest, that is all that I heard. And I tried to wrap my mind around it. I'm grateful that I had someone with me at the time. He was there with me, and he remembered most of the conversation, and he would, gave me he backfilled me on what was said during the time. But the first and last thing that I remember is the doctor looking me in my eye and say, "We found that you have cancer. Here to inform you that you have cancer." Um, I've never heard of someone of my age having cancer at that time. Um, it was a lot of mixed emotions going on. I just like became numb, and I'm just that type of person where um, I'm not quick to talk about certain things until I can wrap my mind around it and understand it myself. So in the event that someone has questions, I can be able to explain it because I need to understand what's going on with me or a situation before I'm able to, you know, explain it to someone else.
You know, for our viewers who don't know you, and this is their first time actually seeing you or having interaction,
Hmm.
they don't know how joyful and how bubbly you are. They don't know that you always have a joke and you always have something that you're thinking, like your mind is constantly thinking and moving.
Right.
And with that, I can't imagine you going from that person to somebody who is maybe not talking as much, a little
Yeah.
more serious, because now you're in a whole different mindset where you're
Hmm.
having to process, like you said, not
Hmm.
just so that you can share. And I'm not trying to change your story or put words in your mouth, but not just for you to share it with somebody else, but for you to even understand, well, what does this mean to me?
Right, right, right. Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
what, like, what do you mean? I'm healthy. Like I'm running however many miles you have to run in
Every
great
day.
shape. Had you,
Hmm.
so you had not had a mammogram before, or had you had a mammogram before?
I had not had a mammogram before, just the breast exams. And I had even said to some of my doctors, why is my breast so much bigger than the other one? You know, and they were, oh, one breast is supposed to be bigger than the other. You're fine.
Mhm.
Um, and even after I was diagnosed, I had questions. Why is this mass so big? How long has this been here? And they told me it's been here about 3 years. And I'm like, so for 3 years, no one has said. I'm just crazy to say that. Hey, this is way bigger than this one. What's going on here? Um, and it was a shock to a lot of people because when you go in and you're like, oh, I'm here for my appointment. I have cancer oncology. I've had nurses say, "Baby, you're too young to have cancer. Are you serious right now?" You know, like, no, and I'm rule of thumb, I'm a jokester because it just helps me. I thank God He gave me the gift of laughter because I try not to get too upset with certain things until I'm pushed back in a corner. But I
Because
was
it's
like,
not good.
right, exactly. So I was like, and when she said, I was like, I had nothing else to do, so I just thought I'd come to the oncology ward for an appointment. Now, can I be seen? And she looked at me like, it was crazy. It was a crazy experience because I was so young and I was battling this cancer that is so far advanced that nobody believed. I was the youngest one in oncology at the time. The
So
youngest.
you go from one anger with God. Now this has to put you in a whole nother space.
Mm-hmm.
So what
It
do
does.
you say now? Are you like furious? I can
I,
only imagine.
I am, and I was always taught not to question God, but I totally break that rule every chance I get now.
Mhm.
And I ask God why. What does this mean? Why me? What am I to learn from this? Um, why? Just why? Give me the insight as to why you chose me to do this.
Mhm.
Um, and I've always grown up in the church. And my pastor told me that, baby, this is an attack on you. He's up to something in your life. And when God has a plan over your life, the enemy tries everything in his power to distract you from that. And
Mhm.
I was like, well, he could have picked another thing now because I'm not doing all this big ball headed. And she was just like, she was like, well, we don't get to choose these battles. God, he strategically plans each battle for each individual because he knows who he created them to be and how they will get through it. And I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, God, you sure? And every day he keep proving, yeah, I'm sure this is what I need you to do. So I slowly began to um, understand why things were happening,
Mhm.
but I didn't know that I would get through all of them. I just trusted God in the process.
Mhm. Did you think you would be able to have children? Or was that ever even a doubt or a question in your mind?
It was a question. Initially, my doctors told me that I would not be able to have any children. He told my husband and I, do as you please, for lack of better words, but there will be no trophies to your game. And I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, you sure? He was like, yeah, you won't even have some of the feminine aspects of being a woman after taking chemo. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I wasn't upset about that part, but I was like, but I can't have kids. And that's like what most women want to do is have children.
Mhm.
Um, so, I had a good support system and I was okay with it.
Mhm.
I was okay.
And your husband, of course, whatever you say, he was okay with.
He was. He was. He was
Whatever
like,
you say.
yeah, whatever. Okay, all right. You want to?
So then you hear the news that you are pregnant.
I had
And it's
one.
like Christmas, huh?
I did. I had one feminine encounter. I had one menstrual, uh, and I was like, "This is not supposed to happen." And then I got really sick one day, so we rushed me to the ER because remember I'm in remission from cancer. I don't know if the cancer's come back. What exactly is going on? And I go to the hospital, and they are like, um, telling me, ma'am, you're pregnant. The only thing wrong is that you're pregnant. And I was like, I'm what? So I called my oncologist, and my oncologist is like, come downstairs. I need to talk to you. I'm gonna run the test, and if you're pregnant, I'm the godfather. And I was like, okay, sir, all right. And I went downstairs to oncology. They did another test. They did a blood test, did all these things, and he walks back in the room, and he says, I'm gonna have a godchild. I was like, oh my god,
Wow. I can't
yeah,
imagine how you go from feeling a certain kind of way to now experiencing so much joy because
right.
not only did God bless you with one, but you have two.
I have two.
Miracle, miracle, miracle.
I
That
have
is
two.
such an amazing thing. And so
Yeah.
you're able to rest in the Lord. You're able to, because I remember having our us having a family function, and I
Mhm.
remember it was when you first started miming, and I
Mhm.
think that was probably, in my opinion, when things spiritually started transitioning for you,
Mhm.
because I remember I was only able to be at the event for a short amount of time, but I
Mhm.
came in while you were miming, and I
Mhm.
felt the presence of the Lord upon you. It was, the anointing was so strong that
Mhm.
I knew. I don't know if we talked about it then, but
Mhm.
I knew that things was changing because I knew I what I felt. And scripture
Mhm.
says what judge the spirit by the spirit. And
Amen.
so I knew that God was doing something for you.
Amen.
But even with the joy and the peace that you were able to express and experience,
Mhm.
then it wasn't long before another tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was another tragedy. Mhm.
What does that
Uh,
morning look like? You get up, you get dressed.
um, it was a typical day. Um, and I am getting ready for work, and my husband goes out and he got my coffee, he got me everything to go, ready to go. And this day was just like, normally he'll talk and have me late for work. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be late today. Okay, love you, bye. Gone, I'm gone. We're not gonna, don't start a conversation. I gotta get to work. I'm not gonna miss quarters. So it was like a rush. It was a rush out. Um, but it was something different about that morning. So I went to work, and I had an appointment. I left the base and had an appointment, and I was still, dressed in my, military attire, what have you, with all of my accoutrements for work, if you will. And just as I'm getting ready to walk out of my appointment, my husband calls me. He was like, "Babe," I was like, "Yeah, babe." He was like, "I need you to come home, come get me." And I was like, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I will be when you come get me." I'm like, "What in the world?" So I go home, and when I get home, my home just looks, from the outside, it just looks stale. It looks stale. So once I get out of the car, I open the garage, and there's a piece of paper there. And it's like, "Don't bring the kids inside." I'm like, "Don't bring the kids inside. What is this about?" So I'm like, okay. So at this point, my mind is starting to wonder. So I'm saying, well, don't you go in either. Go get help. So my neighbor was walking across, and I said, "Hey, I need your help. I need you to come inside with me." Um, and then we went inside. That's when I found my husband inside, and he had taken his life.
I
Taken his life.
still hear the emotion in your voice because that
Yeah.
was your partner, not just your
Right.
husband, but your partner,
Mm-hmm.
your lifeline. I
Yeah.
can't even, I don't even have words to even say. I don't even know what that feels like for you,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna give you a few minutes. We're gonna take a minute and we're gonna come right back, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So for those of you who are watching, this is going to be a part two. Stay tuned for the rest. Enjoy your day.